I'm doing well. It's good to be home.
Yeah, it must be. You know, it's exciting to travel, but there's nothing like home and the Roxy and the Sunset Strip. I mean,
What a way to end it, right?
I knew you grew up out here.
This is a big deal. This is a big deal. I grew up in Santa Monica.
What were your earliest memories of coming into Hollywood and going to the shows?
Well, we used to go. We couldn't get into here. Like this is like a fancy place. This still kind of is. But I used to come. I don't know if you remember that there was the Tower Records. That's where we came to buy vinyl. That was before there was the Tower Records in Westwood. So we would have to come all the way here, and we'd spend like 3 hours on a bus. Right. Yeah, and it was just like we'd see all the bands that had their pictures like on the side of and just fantasize. And I remember the first time Sparkle and Fade was put on the side of the bill, it was a big deal. Big deal. So, yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And you must have walked the streets of Hollywood Boulevard and looked up at that Capitol Tower not knowing that you were going to be affiliated.
No, I was like, that's where the Beatles, that's the Beatles, that's...
Stars on the Boulevard.
Absolutely, it's the Beatles. That's the Beach Boys and Bob Seger and just like so many great bands. Yeah, Pink Floyd. Yeah, for sure.
So I knew coming from here, starting the bands and all that. Talk about writing songs for the first time, because we all played everybody else's songs. Talk about those early days of really finding your voice, finding your songwriting.
Well, I talk about that in the show tonight, as a matter of fact, and I play one of my early songs that I wrote. The one of the first ones that was actually decent, because of course that's part of the process, is you're trying to do things and not really knowing how to put it together. But I started writing songs because I got tired of dealing with singers who couldn't write, and so I taught myself how to sing and play, and destroyed a couple of a Neil Young record and a Sex Pistols record and a Zeppelin record, but I taught myself how to sing and play, and then just started writing songs from there. And I was about 20 when that went on. I've been playing in bands been playing guitar for about 5 years. Been playing bands for like about 3, So, writing songs was my. I was always a huge fan of like hard rock, punk rock bands, and also at the same time, super huge fan of like John Prine and James Taylor and Paul Simon and just singer-songwriters. And all I ever really wanted to do was combine the two of them, and that's pretty much what Everclear is. It's singer-songwriter fronting a big rockin' punky rock band.
Even you take the guitars away, the song is still there.
That's what you hope for.
Volume and the amps, but at the core of it, the song's got to work.
Yeah, it's got to work on a vocal and a guitar, and that's kind of what I'm doing tonight. It's kind of reducing it back to where it started.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, talk a little bit about that evolution of being thrust in where Santa Monica hit MTV, and your life must have changed. Talk about your greatest memories of that era, how some bands kind of become unhinged at that point and kind of lose it, and how you found the balance between staying focused on writing good songs and being level-headed to make it through that, so where some didn't.
Well, Santa Monica was a song that when we got signed to Capitol, we got some money and we got a better house. I was living in a really crappy house at the time, renting. So I rented a better house, but one of the criteria was to have a basement so that the band could, rehearse down there. And we soundproofed it, with eggshells and, the old school way. And I would write songs at night after my daughter went to bed because I had a 2-year-old. And then during the day, or 3-year-old rather. And then at night, during the day, band would come over and we'd try to work those songs out. And Santa Monica was one of those early songs. And a lot of bands back in the day when there was bidding wars got signed for songs, like their big hit. I hadn't written it yet when we got signed. So that we didn't get signed for that. We got signed because our A&R guy liked my voice and liked our songs and thought they would develop to a place, You know, it's like old school. That's like Aerosmith and Springsteen were signed because of what they were hoping they were going to develop into, which they did. So I don't think that mindset's around anymore. But just talking about like when Santa Monica hit and it was a big deal and our first big headlining tour that winter, that January, February, we ended that tour here in Los Angeles as we had a #1 song at K-Rock, and we played, I believe, 3 shows, sold-out shows here at the Roxy. Yeah, instead of a bigger place, I wanted to play here because the Roxy was awesome.
Yeah, get the line down the street and go that bus.
Yeah, for sure.
That's beautiful. Well, you know, back then, like you said, the labels gave a chance to develop. They kind of worked with you. Now all that's gone. You know, the few labels that are out there besides the indies are those big machines that will just gobble up somebody that's already doing an indie. And
They want 10% of everything.
yeah, they just want to throw it against the wall. Talk about the benefits of being independent, you know, whether it be yourself or the bands that are listening to
You mean now?
now,
Yeah.
where
Well,
they have to kind of be self-sufficient.
well, I mean, I think it's different. I think it's 2 different worlds for a band that's coming up that doesn't have a core of fans and doesn't have any kind of like, you know, background like a band like Everclear does. One of the things that we're doing is we're on an indie label called The End. It's a big label. It's not big, but it's small, but it's strong. They've got major label distribution. They've got enough money to make things work as far as promotion and stuff goes like that. But at the same time, I've done a deal with Pledge Music where we're selling a lot of our early records, a lot of the new record. We have a new record coming out in April called Black is the New Black. And we're selling that and the different versions of it and different packages and bundles and stuff on Pledge Music and paying extra to the label so that they get taken care of as well. And I think that the new model is somewhere in between there where you're servicing your fans by going direct to them, cutting out the middleman, making it competitive price-wise, and being accessible. I do updates for them like every 2-3 days, and it's accessible, and it's a different world from when I came up in. When I was a kid, you didn't meet guys in bands. Like, you didn't meet Jimmy Page unless you were a hot chick. You know, the guys didn't meet get rock stars. It just didn't happen. And I think it's a better day now, and I think that whole term rock star is slowly but surely fading into, like, I think it's used more in TV than it is in real life. You know? But
So it's, you know, the fans have the advantage now. They can really get inside the music and be one, and there's, like you say, no place to hide. You either have to bring it live, and you got to have the songs and be able to talk to these people, or you just, you know, another man taking up space.
yeah,
You know?
it's not like it used to be in a lot of good ways. I like the way the business is now. It keeps you honest, man. You've got to, like I say, you've got to want it, man. You've got to put it out there, and there's no bullshit about it. And you've got to be honest, and you've got to be real, and you've got to be accessible and present. I like all those things. Was there a time when I did like the fact that money was shooting out of the fucking ground? Yes, I did. It was cool. And it was cool to be a part of it. But I don't really miss those days too much, to be honest with you.
Unfortunately, you're one of the survivors. You could adapt to the changes because you didn't come from that coming up. So,
A lot of cats can't. They refuse to.
yeah,
I know of 3 or 4 that come to mind right now.
yeah.
And along that same thing is just like I do a tour every summer called the Summerland Tour, which is all 90s bands, but they had big hits then, but at the same time, the criteria is that they still are bands now. They still make records. They still tour. They still got the fire in their belly. They're still chasing the carrot. And that's a big deal to me. And it's not just a nostalgia thing. There's a certain level of nostalgia, which I think is healthy and cool. But it's also that you're seeing awesome rock bands that are still putting it out, that still believe in it, that still grasp it every night. That's a big difference than just bands sitting around waiting for their royalty checks, going out once a year to play the hits, you know. It's a different world.
Yeah, I was there when it kicked off at the Great, man. It was great time.
Thanks, man.
Talk about the idea behind it. Did you feel there was like a void that, you know, there was maybe strength in numbers? You package it up and there's...
Oh, more value. I want to give more value. That's the whole idea. And that was my focus, to always like 4 bands, 3 hours, easy on the promoters, not a lot of money, no one gets hurt, low ticket price, all the bands are making money, no one's getting rich, but we're all making money of what we're worth according to Polestar or touring, and everybody's out there playing for bands, selling merch, doing everything. We're making a decent living playing music, which to me is winning. That's the win. I'm not like, if you're still concerned that it's not the summer of '97 anymore, you need to get a job, a real job, because you're never going to make that kind of money.
Turn the clock back.
No, nor do I want to. I've got a great family. I've got a great life. I'm good where I'm at. I just have to work a little harder. That's cool.
Unfortunately, you're one of them that's ready for it. Talk about Black is the New Black. What can we expect? What are you most proud of achieving? What's the, you know?
It's funny. I've got two people who are VIPs who bought into it, and they're next door listening to the new album for right now. It's our heaviest guitar record we've made, and I say that, and then people hear it and they go, "Wow, this is really heavy." I go, "I told you." It harkens back to our first couple of records for sure, but with more contemporary, like heavy production. It's not heavy like it's not metal. It's a rock record, you know. It's a melodic rock record, but it's got some balls to it. That's all. It sounds great cranked up on a car radio, yeah. That's where I come from. That's how we fell in love with music, right? You didn't have any place to go, but you had a car, and everybody packed into the car, and you drove around listening to the radio all night. But yeah, no, I don't know what I want it to do. I want people to hear it, and I think it's got a single on it that has a chance at rock radio. So we're gonna go after that. That's called "The Man Who Broke His Own Heart." And during these solo shows, we're also giving out a free download of that song if you come by the merch booth. So. How about one more question? You got one more?
What advice do you give to those young bands, young players today? What do they need to concentrate on to really make it today?
You have to be present everywhere. You have to be able to be your own best critic and your own worst critic. You have to be able to grow what you are musically every day. But I think the most important thing is, if you really believe in yourself, you can never give up. If you don't give up, you might not make it to where you want it to be. But if you do give up, you will not. And I know that just sounds simple and kind of like one-sided, almost Hallmarkish card, but it's really true. And people don't get it. That one of the things, you have talent, you have timing, you have all this stuff. You also have to have tenacity. You have to have balls the size of a fucking Volkswagen, and
Wake up every day
wanting to get better, not necessarily wanting stardom, but wanting to better what you do, better your craft, and bring out the things in you that make your music unique and a little bit different than the next guy. Because let's face it, no one's reinventing the wheel here, even though I think some people think they are. They're not. It's rock and roll.